Are you ready to break through the mental barriers holding you back? Welcome to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Dawn Grant. Since 2001, Dawn has been guiding elite athletes like PGA Tour champions, Olympians, and world champions, and everyday individuals toward peak performance. With a proven track record, including helping Vijay Singh win the 2008 FedEx Cup, and her PGA Tour clients averaging a 219% increase in earnings. Dawn knows what it takes to succeed. She's the inventor of the Mind Mastered app, author of 7 Strokes in 7 Days, a sought-after speaker worldwide, and the proud owner of Amelia Shotgun Sports in Northeast Florida. Join us as we dive into powerful strategies, inspiring interviews, and Dawn's unique insights to help you excel in every area of your life, sports, career, relationships, and beyond. And now, here's your host, Dawn Grant.
All right. Well, excited to have with me Michele Holbrook, who I've known as a pretty good acquaintance over probably 20-something years, and seeing her all around Fernandina, Amelia Island, and usually Ola Cuban coffee shop. That's the one place we have in common. But I've always admired her for all the great things that she's doing for the community, but for even further than Fernandina and Amelia Island, the strength that she has. She takes really great care of herself in spite of, or maybe in spite of isn't the right word, but because it's important. And she has some physical health things that she deals with on a regular basis. And she is just so active and so healthy and jogs a lot, which I always admire people that jog a lot. Because I'm not a jogger. And so I'm always like jaw dropped at people that can jog for like long periods of time and regularly. And anyways, Michele, thank you for being here.
Dawn, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And I just thank you for the opportunity just to sit down and talk about not only NF, but also Chandler's Hope.
Yes, so many great things that you're involved with. And again, inspiration to me and to so many. So lots of folks know who Michele is, but there's plenty that don't too. So tell us who you are. Like, take us into your world.
So my name is Michele Holbrook. I live with a rare genetic disorder called neurofibromatosis, which we will say NF for short, because it's so hard to pronounce. And I live with the kind that's called schwannomatosis. I wasn't diagnosed with NF until after my son, my only child, Chandler, was born. We were living in Corpus Christi, and I was running, and my leg kept going out from underneath me. And I just thought it was an old sports injury because I was very athletic in elementary and high school, and I played basketball. But we moved from Corpus Christi to Kansas City, and I had an MRI with an orthopedic surgeon. And at that time, they found my first tumor, which is called, again, NF. I only had one at the time. And so I went to a great neurosurgeon who now has passed away. And I can remember when I first walked in, his hands shook. And I thought, oh, my goodness. But he was very world renowned and one of the best, I have to say.
Wow.
So at that time, they found one, and he was doing a chest x-ray and found another. And so I had 2 at that time. Well, then I'm living with probably over 100 tumors in my body. So last year, I was the national ambassador for the Children's Tumor Foundation, which gave me the most amazing opportunity to travel the country just to raise awareness for NF and try to make a difference for our children.
I love that. So tell us about these tumors. Like, is it a matter of where they happen to plant themselves and then how that affects you?
Anywhere that there is a nerve ending, you can have a tumor. There are 3 types of NF, NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. They're all intertwined, even though we have NF1 is with chromosome 17, NF2 and schwannomatosis are with chromosome 22. And basically what happens, again, anywhere that there is a nerve ending, a tumor can grow. So within the last 10 years, or since this journey has started, but really in the last 10 years, I've had more surgeries than I can count. But all in all, I've had 15 surgeries and 17 tumors removed. And it just seems like it's a consistent basis. For me, I'm good. I think I'm an adult and I'm older, so I can not so much can handle this situation, but I'm very aware of my body. Where you have a child who is living with this rare genetic disorder and having to go through 4 brain surgeries in 1 month, or who has lost their life to neurofibromatosis, it just kills me. It hurts my heart. So my goal is to raise awareness to try to find a cure for them.
Nice. Is there big strides being made in finding a cure? How's that looking?
There are. 15 years ago, no one ever heard of it. Now people are aware of it. I love one night I was watching a TV show at night called Bones, and they had a young lady that was on there that had NF. And I was getting text messages saying, this lady's on TV. She has NF. She's on this television show. So I do think we're raising awareness and making strides, but we still have a ways to go. Because there is not a cure. Chemo does not work. I think our bodies are so different on each level that what might work for someone is not going to work for someone else. So we have to find something in order to stop that chromosome 17 and that chromosome 22 from causing these tumors to produce. It causes excruciating pain. Unfortunately, the type I have is very painful because of the amount of tumors that I have in my spine and in my pelvis abdomen area. And so some days it's difficult. I think my husband knows when I'm having one of those days and he'll say, shut it down. And I do listen to my body on that. I think the hardest part for a lot of us is because, for example, for me, I have tumors all up and down my spine. I mean, if you wanted to remove them, you'd have to open up your entire spine. But when I lay down at night is the worst. And I refuse to take any narcotics, and I will tell you why. But I do take a gabapentin, and that seems to ease the pain a little bit, but really nothing helps. I have to push through it. And I know my body well enough to know that it's time to sit and rest.
How do they decide which tumors they are going to take out, like when it's time for surgery for something?
When the tumors start causing some problems, that is when they decide to take them out. And I understand where the doctors are coming from on this. A lot of them say observe, observe, observe. But I think we as NF patients don't necessarily agree with that, because I think the larger they grow, the more issues you're going to have. And a good example is I just had surgery in the end of May, and I had one removed from my leg, and that tumor had tentacles and it was wrapping around my nerves. And eventually, if I would have continued to allow it to grow, I might have had to have my leg amputated, or it could have caused more problems. It started causing me pain, so my doctor and I made the decision to get it out.
Do you notice like the type of food you eat, therefore then inflammation contributing to more pain?
Very much so. And I'm not a very healthy eater. I will tell you, I'm doing the Daniel fast right now with our church. So I think that has helped. Yes, sugar causes tumors to grow. Doesn't matter what type of tumor it is, it's going to cause those tumors to grow. And I absolutely love chocolate chip cookies. And I enjoy a glass of wine. Wine has a lot of sugar in it. So I have to be careful with those things. Do I indulge every once in a while? Of course I do. On the chocolate chip cookies and the wine, I probably indulge more than what I should.
And you do still jog regularly, right?
I do. I have backed off running for a little while just because we started the nonprofit Chandler's Hope. And so I've been trying to get that settled and really get that up and going. I mean, it has been full-fledged ahead and it has been such a blessing. But I felt like I needed to focus my time and energy on that. I still get a good workout, lifting boxes, lifting clothes, going up and down the trailer, loading things. So it's not that I'm not getting a workout, I'm just not running right now.
I understand. So you mentioned a little bit ago that you don't take narcotics for the pain and that there
Mhm.
was a reason for that. So I think there's kind of a lead in to what Chandler's Closet is. So let's go back. Like, why don't you take narcotics?
I don't take narcotics because I lost my only child 4 years ago to a fentanyl heroin overdose. And you never want a mother to go through that, whether it's from addiction or losing a child, period.
Mhm.
I had a conversation with someone yesterday and they said losing a child is totally different than losing a parent or a spouse. And I never knew that until I lost my child. But when
Mhm.
you're in the throes of addiction with a child or a loved one, it is horrendous. And Chandler had shoulder surgery at the age of 17, and the doctors had put him. Now, was Chandler an addict before the doctor put him on this? Yes. Was he experimenting with drugs before this? Yes. But Oxycontin has such an effect on
Mhm.
people that I think it took his addiction to the next level. And I refuse to go there. He started with, once he started the Oxycontin, then he was going to the pill mills. Well, they shut down the pill mills and then they go to heroin.
Mm.
And now heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines, marijuana, it's all being laced with fentanyl. And so he
Oh
lost his
gosh.
life April the 21st, 2020.
Yeah, that Oxycontin. I know somebody in my circles who, in my opinion, as an observer, I would say had addiction issues and then had, leading up to eventually a surgery, which then was prescribed Oxycontin. And that person who I'd say prior to that always was in denial at the level of drug and alcohol use and it wasn't a big deal, all that kind of thing. But that person actually came to me and said, I am abusing this. It said something like take 4 a day. And obviously that was supposed to be spread out over the day. And he admitted that he was taking 4 at a time. Like he
Hmm.
admitted he was deliberately reading that label in a way that would feed his addiction.
Hmm.
And yeah, that person still struggles with addiction, but I can totally see what you mean as far as that changing things.
And Dawn, people put such a stigma on addiction, and it is a disease. And I know that without a fact. I've done a lot of research on it. I'm very involved in Project Opioid.
Mhm.
I see the research papers that they have come out with. We have to raise awareness for our children, and
Mhm.
I firmly believe that because and I say this like the marijuana. I'm 58 years old.
Mhm.
And I understand that kids are going to experiment. They're going to drink a beer. They're going to maybe smoke marijuana. It's part of growing up. I understand that. But you can't do it at this day and age because
Mm.
what we had way back then is totally different what they have now.
Mm.
Even the marijuana.
Mhm.
And it's heart-wrenching. And you can't turn a blind eye on it. You have to have communication with your children. And I feel it needs to start like in fourth and fifth grade. These
Mhm.
kids are growing up so much faster than we are because we didn't have social media back then.
True.
And if you think that your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy, that those kids cannot pull up Snapchat or other other apps where they're going to be able to purchase drugs, you've got another thing coming.
Mhm.
And who's to say that one person for example, if you and I went out and I'm like, hey, if we were teenagers, hey, let's have a beer, just going to have a good time. And you were the addict, you had the disease, and then you couldn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you have to teach your kids. Don't offer something to someone because you never know what they are walking through.
It's so true. And you bring up a really valid point that I hadn't really thought of before. Marijuana has become so much more accepted in circles. I happen to be someone who doesn't have that disease and that gene. So, it is easier for me as the outsider to observe and to not have got caught into it in all these years. But I know that makes me different than the person who can't stop at one or two. Like literally, like once they get that influence in them, they're ordering more, they're getting more, and they're getting more. And I've seen it in family members and close friends. But the marijuana, because I'm not a marijuana smoker, I've had a lot of people be like, oh, it's no big deal, Dawn. Everybody does it. And you'd be surprised, doctors and lawyers and all the, there's kind of this normalcy, supposedly. I mean, like, again, I'm not doing it, so I don't know, but I'm hearing that there's this normalcy. But then you also see it being legalized in states. And so it's definitely more widespread than it's ever been. You got the stores everywhere. But what I hadn't thought about is how it's being laced and that there's other things mixed into there. And so it is a different marijuana, isn't it?
It is. And nowadays, they're hybriding it and doing this. And I mean, it's funny, but this is not funny. Chandler thought he was going to get rich quick and move to Colorado to try to grow marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gone out there to see him one day, and he was telling me all this stuff, and I was just like, oh my gosh. And I couldn't handle it. My heart, number one, my heart was hurting. Number two, just the god-awful smell on its own was just horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my husband, and I'm like, I can't do this. I had just come off radiation. And I called him and I go, I can't be out here anymore. And I had a plane ticket for a certain period of time. And he said, honey, book your ticket and come home.
Yeah.
I think all those things combined. And it's not that Chandler was a bad person, because he would give the shirt off his back, his last dime, to anyone. He was that type of person. He had the most loving heart, the most tender heart, and he cared so much about everyone else. But I also saw with him, and I see it with so many, the younger you are when you start, the more chance of you having an addiction. I also feel that marijuana can cause psychosis. It can cause anxiety. It can cause depression. John and I had a conversation the other day, and I see his side of it. We don't partake in that whatsoever. And he said, I feel like we should vote for marijuana because at least they're not going to get it laced anymore. So I see that point of it.
Right.
But then I also think, well, instead of doing that, then why not start at a young age making sure that our kids are aware of everything that could happen? And I've seen the psychosis in people. I've seen the anxiety. I've seen the depression. And so that concerns me. And I also don't want a child living with a parent that can go and buy it recreational. And then the kids are going in and stealing their parents' marijuana at 10, 11, and 12. So on that note, if you feel like you need to do it, and I'm not judging anyone, these are my feelings.
Right.
Lock it up. Lock your prescriptions up and lock your marijuana.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's addiction, that what I consider the disease of it, and genetic, that runs in my kids' family. And so I did teach them early, and it was odd to have that conversation. I wanted them to know like what it looks like, what it does, all these different things. As a mental trainer, I had a client, and I started working with him when he was a senior in high school. related to sports. His family was very wealthy, so throughout school, he had his own private school psychologist, and so basically he was becoming more and more interested in sports. So they hired me to be his mental trainer, and very wealthy, very educated, very smart. He went to an Ivy League college. I worked with him all through his college years. He started drinking and smoking marijuana in college. Not that he hadn't tried it before, but it became very much a part of his life. After he graduated, I was still, having sessions with him over different things, but the topic started coming up that he was like, I have the world before me. He could have anything. And he had observed that he was smoking marijuana first thing in the morning before going to the office. He was driving home for lunch and smoking it at lunch, then not wanting to go back to the office. He was coming home in the afternoon, smoking it again. He was like, I've become lazy, unmotivated. He felt like he was addicted. He needed help to stop. And to me, that's what I've observed. And I've not just observed it with him, I've observed it over and over again. So when I see people defending it like it's not a big deal, it is a big deal for multiple reasons that we're talking about right now. And to keep writing it off as not a big deal is not good for people's health, their success, their ability to function in any kind of way in society in a productive way. And then it could kill them, right?
Exactly. That first high is always the best. And then you keep trying to get that high over and over and over and over again. And alcohol is a drug just like anything else, just like the marijuana and just like any of the drugs. And so you have to teach your kids at such a young age. You have to have that conversation with you. And that was the best thing you could do. And I see that every day. To go back, we opened up a 501c3 nonprofit called Chandler's Hope. And it's called Chandler's Hope Clothes Closet. And we opened it in December. It is a mobile trailer that my husband converted into a clothes closet. And we travel all over Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia, really anywhere, in order to help these individuals, that are in need, whether they're homeless, whether they're addicts, whether they're down on their luck, whether they've had a fire and they need help, whether they're living in their car and they have children. I see that all the time, and it's heart-wrenching. But, I felt like I had to use my pain for God's purpose. And how this has just come about. When we open up that trailer, and I mean, we go into the heart of Jacksonville, and it's heart-wrenching. But let me tell you something. I absolutely love these people. Love them. They're the kindest, the sweetest, the most gracious and thankful people you could ever imagine. They just have a disease that they can't fight. But the other day, it just broke my heart because they come in sometimes and they're so high, whether it's from alcohol or drugs, and all you can do is just love them. And that's what we need to do, is love them. Now, not only do we need to feed them with clothing, but we also need we need to feed them spiritually as well. You can't give one without giving the other. And that's something that's important to me. But you also have to have tough love.
Yeah. So tell me, what inspired you to do clothes and to do the Chandler's Closet? How did that all come together for you?
So after Chandler passed away, I was driving in Fernandina, and I would see a lot of the homeless and a lot of the addicts walking down the street. And you'll laugh at this story. And my heart hurt. I didn't know what else to do for them. You can't give money. You can't give them a place to live. You can't even buy them gift cards because they'll sell those gift cards for the drugs. I mean, I've been around the block a few times. I know all the tricks of the trade,
And
so And I try to tell people that, but I felt like, Lord, what do I need to do for these people? Well, I went into Walmart and they had the Powerade for 88 cents. And I walked in there with a full cart and just dumped it all in there. And the lady who works at Walmart came over to me and she said, "Are you running a sports facility?" And I said, "No, ma'am. I'm buying Gatorade for the homeless." And she said, "Oh my goodness, let me help you." So she started dumping all of them in there. And so what I did is I put them in the back of my car. And anytime I saw one of them walking down the street, I would stop the car. I got the horn blown at me quite a few
I'm
times,
sure.
because I'd stop in the middle of the road. But I'm like, "Leave me alone. I'll be right back in."
Yeah.
I would just give them a Gatorade. So
Okay.
to my precious friends, I am known as the Gatorade lady. And I will tell you, that is a term of endearment for me. I smile every time I hear that.
Yeah.
So I started getting involved with the Homeless Coalition at the Day Drop Center and just became friends with all of them. Um, and watched their journey. And so then they had to tear down part of the building at the Day Drop Center because they were rebuilding it. And last year, at first I kept thinking food truck, food truck, food truck. But I was traveling so much last year with the Children's Tumor Foundation, I couldn't do anything. My year was really up the end of November when we had the gala.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm going to go look at a trailer. So I went and looked at a trailer, and all of them were they were beat up, they were expensive, and I just really didn't have any peace. So when I was driving back on the island, I kept looking, and I just couldn't find one. And I
And were
walked.
you still thinking food at that point?
I was,
Okay.
but then the next day, I just went close. Because I still do the Warm Heart Drive in December for the Homeless Coalition. And the year before I had done that, and Zen had asked me to do it again. And I said, of course. Well, it clicked, clothes closet. And so I looked over at my neighbor and he had a trailer. And I said, I asked him, I said, "Joe, are you looking to sell your trailer?" And he said, "Yes."
Oh
I
my.
said, "I'll take it." Air conditioning, a light, a nice trailer. I mean,
No way.
yes. So my poor husband, he just, I think sometimes he shakes his head. And I thought, love your neighbor as yourself. And then when John told me I like that idea, because there's a lot of ideas, he sits there and says no. And when he said to me, I love that idea. And I had to do one more trip for the Children's Tumor Foundation. And while I was gone, he built the trailer
Oh,
into a
nice.
clothes closet. So we
Oh,
travel. Now, what are my dreams with this? To have a bigger trailer, to have
uh-huh.
two trailers, to be able to have a pickup truck, to be able to tow that bigger trailer, and to be able to serve more than just Northeast Florida.
That's great.
Someone said to me, "I'd love for you to go nationwide." I
Yeah.
would love to go nationwide. I've told people, like, I was with my girlfriend and we meet halfway in Florida because she lives in Mississippi. And I told her, I said, "Mel," and she works with the health department. I said, "If they need me to bring that trailer, I will load it up. I'll take my time and I will go." Because to me, it's about serving in our community and our country. And there's so many people in our country that are in need. And it's not just me, it's we. We have a whole team of us. We can do just one more thing to help these individuals and give them dignity and a purpose. And that's what it's about to me.
Yeah, that's great. So where do you get your clothes?
Oh my gosh, our donations, our community. I will tell you what, if you haven't, and I don't want any more people to move here, even though I'm a realtor, I still don't want any more people to move here.
That's
Try
funny.
and sell each other's, no, a lot of traffic lately. But I've never lived in a community like this, Dawn. When I put it on Facebook that we were starting up Chandler Soap Clothes Closet, people came to my house, and at the time it was in my house,
Yeah.
and it just would drop off clothes. I mean, you just would not believe. And thank you is not enough to all of these individuals. We're still trying to send out thank you notes. I have to do one thing at a time, but I cannot thank our community enough. John walked in the house one night and he said, where am I going to sleep? I said, I don't know. You got to figure that one out. But I mean, it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And so now someone has given us, and I don't tell people where it is just for safety issues and different things like that, but we call it our warehouse. And we've had people build racks for us where we hang the clothes and then we pull from there, load it in the trailer and go.
I gotcha.
We do allow sometimes people to come in there and go shopping. There is a local addiction recovery center, and I will allow him to bring the women and the men, but there are certain stipulations before you can come in there and go shop. And Dawn, I will tell you, some of these women and men have nothing but the shirt off their back.
Gosh.
And to see them come in there and be able to shop and walk out with a grin from ear to ear, that is what it's about. It's about them and being able to help. And I hope that I'm a blessing to them as much as they're a blessing to me.
I mean, you just hit the nail right on the head as far as finding a need that was not being served. And gosh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I can empathize. I can see what that must be like to try to get your life straightened out, be in a rehab facility, only have the shirt on your back, and to be able to go into a place where there's probably some really good quality clothes that you can feel good about. I mean, talk about raising a person's spirit and energy and feeling of confidence. All of that's so important in recovery. There's a lot about hitting rock bottom before a person will start rising up again. But that's a hard road. That's such a hard road. Think about yourself. Like, I have clothes in my closet, and some clothes I love, and some clothes I probably should get rid of. And if it's a day that I'm wearing one of the outfits that I love, I mean, there's a different energy about me, right? And we all have different styles and different tastes. So that doesn't mean everybody will like what I love. But, if I'm walking into a room or I'm walking down the street and I'm wearing that outfit, I feel good and I have a higher energy, vibration, frequency, confidence, like all of those things. And no doubt, if I wear that other thing in my closet, that's not really me, I hardly ever wear it, I have a different vibe altogether. And it's amazing what clothes really, really do for people.
Exactly. And, you're not just putting a thing of clothes in a bag and saying, here you go. You're allowing them to pick and choose what they want. We have women's clothes in the front half. We have men's clothes on the back half. During the summer months and even in the winter months, we lay out tables, like we set it up as a shopping area and allow them to come in and shop. I talked about one of my dreams with the truck and another trailer, but another one of my dreams is to be able to have where it's a storefront property, in an area of town where we can set appointments with these people and have them come in and shop, put it in a bag, make them feel like they do have a purpose and they do have a dignity. So that's something that is a dream of mine as well. Trying to find storefront is tough. There's a place that's vacant over there by Moon River, and I've contacted them, but I'm just not, really getting anywhere. But I also have to remember it's God's timing, and if that's where He wants me, He'll put me, and if not, then He's going to put me somewhere else. And I have to rely on that faith.
I'm curious how you see that still feeding the same population, meaning like you're going, like you said, into the heart of Jacksonville. You're driving to these places where homeless are. So how would the homeless get to something like that? Or are you looking to help a different population if it was a storefront?
No, if we had a storefront, it wouldn't be open. It would just basically be, and it could be a warehouse, call it a warehouse. Where we are now, due to safety issues, we cannot allow people in there. And the reason why I say that space over there by Moon River, because the Day Drop Center is over on 14th Street, so they could walk over there. That is by appointment only for those in need. And those individuals, the people who need to get in touch with me, know how to get in touch with me. But I also give our cards to people if they need anything. And especially for parents that have teenagers. Teenagers don't want to come in there and shop. It's embarrassing to them and it crushes their spirit. So in that situation, I'm like, bring your son or your daughter and let him come shopping.
Yeah.
But being able to open it up in times of need by appointment only, we would still take those 2 trailers and travel to different areas to be able to help those people in the heart of Jacksonville. We've also set up with Trinity Rescue Mission to be able to, we're going to start going to their facility the first Friday of each month. And, we have a couple of places that we're trying to work with in Hilliard and Callahan as well. But it's anyone. It doesn't matter, like I said, if you're in Mississippi or if you're in Fernandina Beach. I just, we as Chandler's Hope want to be able to help those people.
Yeah. And I think one of the big aspects of what makes what you're doing so unique is that it is portable, because there's so many homeless or that don't have transportation or reliable transportation. And it feels to me like you're reaching them where they wouldn't necessarily be reached otherwise.
I will give you, the amount of rain we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, flooding, everything. And it was perfect timing on Tuesday, the 3rd Tuesday of each month, we go to Barnabas. But we set up over in the Day Drop Center right across the street. And so a lot of my friends from the Day Drop Center will come and shop. One of the guys walked in and he said, "Michele, I am so thankful you're here today." He said, "Every single thing we have has gotten soaked and we can't wear it anymore." And so there is a need because they need something that they can wear. And to me, feel good, look good, but also feed them spiritually as well. Give them, in every single one of our bags, we put a thing in Narcan, which is not a cure, but they need it. You never know. It will save your life. But we also put resources that are in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. They also know if they want to get to rehab, the Day Drop Center has my number and they'll call me. We were able to get a couple of people in rehab. One was there a year, and this is how disease works. And mental health and addiction go hand in hand. But we were able to put a lady in there who was just a severe alcoholic. She was in the program for a year. She did great. I mean, wonderful. Lost her husband. He died. She fell off. But because of the tools that she was given, she checked herself. She called and said, "Michele, I need to get into detox." I said, "You've got Gateway's number," but you have to make them call themselves. You have Gateway's number, call, get them a bed, and then get back in Teen Challenge. That's exactly what she did. So she went to detox, and now she's back in Teen Challenge.
Nice.
Just to say that one person, instead of just shoving them off, give them something that's going to help them. Who's to say that one person's not going to look at that and say, I need to go there. Let me call that number.
And you don't know where that will sprout in different directions. Years ago, I helped somebody that had gambling addiction and drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And, I used my mental training and hypnosis. He came to me for sessions. He has not only recovered, but opened up like a 7,000-acre recovery place up in Virginia. Yeah.
That just gave me chills.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. He's using his pain for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just sweep it under the rug. He took it and brought it out. You look, and I am such a sports buff. I mean, I would much rather watch football, basketball, you name it, on TV than watch The Bachelorette. I'm not a girly girl. I am a sports fanatic. And it's funny. I think that's why my husband fell in love with me, is because I would sit there and watch ESPN with him. And, I knew the stats and stuff. And he's like, I've never dated anyone like this. And I'm like, welcome to the sports family.
Yeah.
But, I played sports growing up, and that's something that's very important to me. And, I still try to train. You have to train your body, mind, and soul. And I still try to train my body. But, you look at all, there's no race, no religion, no ethic, or, economical, nothing. It's a person, and they're still a human being. Doesn't matter where they've come from, who they are, whether they have so much money or no money at all. It's a disease. But you look at all these sports figures, and I love this about them. They didn't take it and hide it. They took it and spoke about it. You
Right.
look at Herring. I think his name is Herring. He's in Boston. He opened up a rehab facility. Look at the guy. He is my favorite. The one in Denver, Colorado. He played basketball for Colorado.
Okay.
And he had such an addiction, and he turned it around. But he made a choice to go out and speak to these kids about it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was living on the streets in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And came back. And I love those stories. Those are feel-good stories. It drives me crazy when I read the paper and they're like, just throw them away, kick them out, put them in jail. That's not the answer. Jails don't have the resources. I love what Putnam County is doing. They have opened up a separate pod for those individuals that are truly addicted. And that's where they do the AA program or the drug program. And I love that this guy that's running it, he's with the sheriff's department. He's a recovering alcoholic, but he opened that up. We need that. You have to meet certain criteria, but we need that. We need that all over the United States, not just in Putnam County.
I agree with you. But what an inspiration you are as far as talking about turning things around, like the example I gave of that client. I mean, that's literally what you've done in multiple areas of your life.
Thank you.
And you are a very spiritual, religious person, and I know you're very faith-based, and I'm sure that's helped you a lot, right?
It has. It really has, because I had a choice in life. I grew up in church, walked away from church. It's part of growing up. Don't beat people over the head with your religion. And that drives me crazy. Because, girl, let me tell you, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and it was hell, fire, and damnation.
Yes.
And it drives me insane when people act like that. And we had this conversation last night. I facilitate a women's Bible study at the Journey Church. And this was one of the things we talked about. You see so much hate in this world. It's not for me to judge, you know. But when we were talking last night, are you going to bring someone to know your Jesus if you're beating them over the head? I saw a great sign, and it was where I grew up, and it said, just love them to Jesus and let him do the rest. You know what? I'm going to love you right where you are. And I hope that you love me right where I am. And we live in America. We have a freedom of choice. And sometimes we're going to agree to disagree. But does that mean we need to hate one another? No.
I lived what you're talking about as well. Up in New England, there's a lot of Catholics. And not that one religion does this more than another or anything, but I wasn't necessarily going to a church regularly. And I'll never forget the moment I was sitting at dinner in a booth. There was a couple across from me that I had just met, and they wanted to know what church I went to. And I had told them I didn't go to a church. And it was almost foreign to them. And now we're young. We're talking like I was probably 19 or 20 years old. And they ended up asking me if I was a devil worshiper because I didn't go to a church. I know. And it really affected me. I was like, wow, I don't ever want to make somebody feel that way, because we moved a lot. My father was in the Navy, and then kind of was in the bones, I guess. So I moved a lot even in my early adult life. And that question came up almost every time I moved somewhere, what church you go to? And I would always get that look of either worry or disappointment or concern or, trying to get me to come to their church. And so it turned me off.
Yeah.
And so all of my 20s, I had decided I will never be like those people. And I made a decision that I wouldn't use the word God or Jesus in any sentence, because I felt, again, I was young, so I made these decisions young. I would be like them if I did that. So it wasn't until I entered Al-Anon when I turned 30 that I felt like I had the freedom to, understand a higher power of my understanding, and that gave me so much freedom. There wasn't like, well, you're only going to go to heaven if you come here, and I was able to learn through that program how to have faith, how to turn things over to a higher power, how to not judge others, how to accept people for who they are. Truly love thy neighbor as himself. Love the addict, love the homeless, love your neighbor. It doesn't matter if they have a house or not. Like, love thy neighbor as himself. And there's so many important things I learned through that program that are truly like spiritual, religious, higher self, being your best self, concepts that I truly wish every human could be exposed to without feeling judged of, well, which one you go to, and ours is better. And so, that whole thing. And once I really started practicing and having faith in my life, it's phenomenal. And I say that from not having it in any formal way until I was 30. So I have a comparison. And now, I can truly see passing over the baton, letting go, let God, being able to see the serendipitous moments, the miracles that happen, the chance encounters and meetings. It's like life is beautiful, and the spiritual aspect to it is amazing. I mean, amazing's not even the word. It just truly is awe-inspiring when you can start living in faith. And I mean genuine faith. If I'm walking out of church and into the parking lot and I'm still pissed off because somebody cut me off, I'm not living it, right? Yeah. So love thy neighbor as thyself, not throwing stones, because we all live in a glass house, and we really, really all do. Everybody. And I see this on social media, and especially with politics, they're throwing stones and calling people names and judging them and condemning them. It's almost like a witch hunt in a lot of ways. And it even reminds me of what happened to Jesus. I mean, especially with social media, stories can get fed. Words are powerful. And, you call somebody a liar and a cheat and a this and a that. And then you get all this mob mentality around it. And next thing you know, they're chastising or trying to kill somebody. And that's literally what we're watching happening.
It is, and it starts from the top down. And the thing that really resonates with me that comes to my mind is it's not the religion, it's the relationship. And I remember growing up like you, Baptists were saved, but Catholics weren't. And God really showed me, Michelle, let me tell you something. It's my choice of who I'm going to get saved. And I lived in Kansas City at the time, and I was doing a Bible study, and the 99% of the women were in there were Catholic. And these women loved the Lord with all their heart. But you know what? It's not the religion, it's the relationship. And I don't want to be a Pharisee. I I don't care what walk you've been through. I don't care if you're still walking it. I'm going to sit and eat with you. And because I will tell you, when you're a Pharisee, you don't have love in your heart. All you have is bitterness. And that was the one thing we talked about last night is, even your enemies. And it's hard for me sometimes because I want everyone to like me. But I have to realize, and the older I get, not everyone is going to like me.
Yeah.
Try to be kind to people. I try to love people. But not everybody's going to like me. But it breaks my spirit when someone doesn't. But I have to realize that there's a reason behind that. And, but not to get bitter. You got to love your enemies. And he still calls us to pray for them. And you got to, and that was one thing we talked about last night, is you got to release that bitterness because you're never going to be able to move forward. And I had to release the bitterness of Chandler's death, or I was never going to be able to move forward.
Nice.
And that's something that I care about because I'm not going to bring him back. I do know where he is, and God's given me too many God winks for that. And
yeah.
I mean, I could tell you stories. So, without a doubt, he's not sitting for Jesus. He's dancing for Jesus.
Yeah.
Because he loved music festivals and he loved to dance. And I know exactly where he is. And so I have to hold on to that hope.
I love that. I love it. And it is so transformational. Again, to have faith, it's so transformational. I remember, I don't know if it's 10 or 15 years ago, but people were wearing the armbands that was like WW, what would Jesus do? WWJD. And to me, that goes all the way back to that concept of actions speak louder than words. And don't just say the words, and it's living it. And it's a challenge, and it goes against our nature because humans have ego, and ego makes us selfish, makes us arrogant, makes us think we're better than others, know better than others, judge others, separate ourselves from others. To me, it's the true separation. It's what separated us from being more godly is this ego mind. And we all have it. So if you want to evolve, you have to be mindful of it. And taming it down, being aware of it, is not judging others as if you're better than them. It's realizing when you're being selfish as heck. And then there's balance with everything, though, also, because you made me think of something. There's balance with taking care of yourself, as you talked about earlier. It's vital, and you notice it more, especially if you have a disease. You have to be selfish at times, but you're a perfect example of the balance of selfish and selfless. And there's a lot of people that go extreme in one way or the other, and it becomes very unhealthy. Either way, an element of addiction tends to be very selfish. An element of someone who's with addicted people trying to caretake them and codependent on them is being extremely selfless. So there is this balance, but it takes mindfulness because we're all somewhere on that equation. But being able to have that awareness and that knowledge and the energy and desire to want to do something about it and try to continue every day to be a better person or a better version of ourselves. You remind me a lot of me as far as living it. And there are people that don't like me. And my first ex-husband, when he would be mad at me, he used to say, "Nobody really likes you anyways." And I'm saying
Mm.
that because he knew that was a button of mine,
Yes.
right? And that's how much I've cared my whole life of not only wanting to help and care for people, but that I was liked and that I'm a do-gooder, right? And can't you see I'm doing good, you know? And but in spite of all my efforts, there are people that don't like me. I'm 53, and in the last 3 to 5 years, I've seen it more and more. The more I'm in the public eye, I own a local business. The more that I do things like podcasts and social media, the more they come out and can criticize or ridicule, judge, of seeing everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it can be hurtful, but one of the things that helps me is I know who I am and I know what I'm doing. And I know that I can put my head down on the pillow at night and know that I've done good that day, that I have morally done well, that I have been loving, that I've been kind, that I've been generous, that I'm working on not judging my neighbors, that I'm working on not throwing stones in my glass house. Like, I also have to set boundaries because even though I want to love thy neighbor, if that neighbor is doing things that I don't necessarily agree with or want in my circle, then I have to set a boundary or standard around that. And I've had to cut people out of my life. I didn't have to. It was a choice because of the health that I want in my life, in the quality of my life.
Exactly, and you have to surround yourself. And I heard a great saying when Chandler was in recovery one time. He was in a recovery house, and the guy drew a house, and then he drew a fence around the house. And he said, "Your loved one or your friend or whomever, it's not that you don't love them and care about them, but you have a fence between you. And the reason why is because they're not allowed to come into your space until they have what they need to do together, and then let them step in. If they're continuing forward on their journey to get healthy and not making you unhealthy, then you can ask them to come further into your yard and eventually in your house.
Mm.
But the one time that they cause you to have those unhealthy feelings, that's when you back it up and put them right back outside that fence. And
Mm.
that's hard. I read a great book, and I love this man. And I sent him a note after I read it. I wish I would have read it during Chandler's throes of addiction, but I
Mm.
didn't read it till after he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Unhooked, and it's by Jason Coombs.
Okay.
And he was an addict, and he wrote this book, and it's about, and then his mother wrote some of it in the end, but it talks about the certain boundaries and loving them through addiction.
Mm.
And I mean, it is such an amazing read. And I called him and I told him, I said, "I just want to let you know your book is absolutely amazing." He sent me a whole case of books to give to people. And I will tell you, I give those to everyone. I had a friend call me the other day, "Michele, I need to talk to you. My son's an addict." And I
Mm.
took that book over there and I said, "This is the best book you can ever read."
Nice.
She sent me a note later the next day. I think she read it all night long. She said, "Michele, this book was absolutely amazing. I'm going to send it to two of my friends that really need it as well for their kids." But I feel that I want to be here for people to be able to, to help people, whether you're the mother of a loved one or whether you're in the throes of addiction yourself. Can't give you money. I can't give you gift cards. I can't give you a place to stay, but I can give you love, and I can give you resources that are going to help you. And we all can open up Chandler's Hope Clothes Closet, to be able to feel good, look good, and feel good. And to me, that's what it's about.
Beautiful, Michele.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
And just so you know, I absolutely adore you.
Oh, thanks. So you're saying you're one of the ones that do like me
I
versus
adore
dislike.
you. It's not just like, I adore you.
Thank you, Michelle. I
I
adore
have
you too.
always adored you from the time
Oh,
I met you when we were there for the Masters that year.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you. I adore you too. I admire you
Thank
in so
you.
many ways. You are inspiration for
Mm.
real. And thank you for being on here. I do want to tell all the listeners that I have some free goodies on dawngrant.com/free, whether it's related to mental training, hypnosis, my Mind Mastered app, or even at my Shotgun Club. So check that out. I want listeners to get some free stuff. Michelle, can you please give us your contact info? So I know emails, websites, phone numbers. How can people get you for any of these topics?
So my telephone number, where you can get in touch with me, again, Michele Holbrook, and my number is 904-583-1900. Or we are on Facebook and social media under Chandler's Hope Clothes Closet. Our email is Chandler, CHANDLERS, Hope, HOPE, clothes, CLOTHES, closet, CLOSET, at gmail.com. But you can find that on our Facebook and our Instagram page. It has the email, our telephone numbers, and how to get in touch with us. If there's anyone that has a need, please don't hesitate to call us.
Well, and you're also helping with the NF. So is there a resource or direction for those folks?
Yes, for neurofibromatosis, you can go to ctf.org. I'm so sorry. Or you can go on social media, which I've become involved with Kate and Chad Dorkey, who lost their daughter Penny to a brain tumor, and their organization is called Penny's Flight. You can find them on social media. They are absolutely amazing. The money that they're raising, and the awareness that they're making for NF is just unbelievable. So I support those two causes. One is not without the other. And so either one of those, if you need additional resources, if your child or your loved one or someone you know, or even yourself has NF and you don't know what the next step is, I would encourage you to go to ctf.org and pull up the resources available.
Perfect.
Can I say one last thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, we hand out blessing bags. And in our blessing bags, we do socks and small toiletry items, shampoo, conditioner. I have an Amazon list, shaving cream with a razor, soaps. We do not give anything that has alcohol. We can't give hand sanitizer and the only type of mouthwash. So we just leave out the mouthwash because mouthwash has a lot of alcohol in it that you wouldn't think. But anything that's a toiletry item, lip balm, sunscreen, deodorant. We bought these little towels on Amazon, and they're rolled up very tight, but when you wet them up, it turns into a nice sized wash rag. And so we try to put those along with the resources available in a blessing bag. And the blessing bags are also on our Amazon list as well. And they're the drawstring backpacks. And so we put our logo on them, and those are items that really go fast. I mean, we hand out numerous blessing bags every time we go somewhere.
So is it an Amazon wish list?
It is an Amazon.
So what's the name of the wish list so they can search it?
Hey, my wish list is called Chandler's Hope Clothes Closet.
Okay, perfect. So somebody can go to Amazon, they can search the wish list, look for Chandler's Hope Clothes Closet, and you keep that updated with the items that you like to give out, and people can purchase them, and then they get sent directly to you.
Yes. And everything is always updated. And those are things that we run out of, like the underwear for the men and women, the sports bras, kids' underwear, socks for both kids and adults. So
Okay,
I
perfect.
appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Michele, again, you are an inspiration. I could tell you that every day. I do appreciate learning all about you and all that you're involved in and how you are contributing beautiful things to this planet. So thank you for being
Dawn,
on here.
thank you so much. And listen, my friend, you are as well. And like I said earlier, I adore you. And I thank you for the opportunity. And anytime you want to tour the warehouse, call me. I'll take you in.
That'd be cool.
I would love that.
That would be neat. All right, and folks can follow me on any of my businesses on social media as well. So thanks again, Michele. I look forward to seeing where your journey takes you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in to the Mind Mastered Secrets of Excellence with Dawn Grant. Whether you're an elite athlete or pursuing success in your career or personal life, Dawn Grant's expertise and insights are here to guide you. Don't forget to visit dawngrant.com/free to grab your exclusive free resources, hypnosis audios, mental training tools, and even a golf cart at her club. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow, rate, and share this podcast. Stay connected with Dawn on all social media platforms for more inspiration, tips, and updates. Remember, mastering your mind is the key to unlocking your full potential. Until next time, keep pushing your limits and striving for excellence.